I always get nervous for the most part because I'm always afraid I'm going to let the person introducing me down. Like, they're going to be like, oh, here's Evan Elliott, he's a real funny guy. And then I just come up here and nothing happens. No one smiles, no one laughs. I say something racist, people beat the shit out of me, get out of town. You know, that whole, get back to Barry, you fucking fascist. Something like that happens. And, everything breaks down. And I feel like I've let Cole down specifically if I don't do something really good. So now, onto your prepared material. I was talking to my grandmother just a couple of days ago, and she just recently gone to Toronto with a friend of her. Her name's Jane, if that's important to you. And we were talking about just the various things she'd got to see, and she told me she went into this one store in Chinatown, and I was asking, and she was talking about how interesting it was, and in order to describe it, she said that the store I'm telling you was great, Evan. They had everything in it from soup to nuts. And I said, pardon me. And she said, I said, Evan, the store, it's got everything from soup to nuts. And I said, what, two different kinds of food? She goes, no, it's an expression, Evan. Everything from soup to nuts. It's got all sorts of different things. I said, that's not really an impressive expression, is it? Like, we already have stores that have everything from soup to nuts. They're called restaurants, and not even very good ones. And so it was she said to me, no, you don't understand. It's just an expression. It means that it had everything you could possibly think of in there. And I said, I can think of way more things than soup or nuts. Those are two very limited spectrums of the human imagination that you're attempting to confine me to. Like, if you set everything over here, all things that are soup here, and then over here, all things that are nuts, the spectrum would not be very long. This is probably as much space as it would take. Because really, there's only so many different kinds of soup, and so many different kinds of nuts that you can have. And there are soups with nuts in them, which means there is overlap between these two groups. So you don't have to do any hops or skips into different separate groups to get there, because there's a clear line differentiating these two items. Like, there's this one Indian soup that my mom makes, and it's made primarily with peanuts. So that soup has both soup and nuts in it. So basically what my grandmother is saying by saying this is that the store she went into is about as interesting as the third best Indian soup that my mom made for me when I was back at home. But that's besides the point. The point that I'm going into here is the topic today is money. So I was going to be talking about selling out. Selling out is something that's very important to me as a... You see, that wasn't even the joke. That was just an unfortunate turn of phrase. But seriously, it's important because I've realized, as a admittedly unpunk-tired punk fan, it's something that's very important to me. And I've been looking over these things, and I realize that everybody these days has been selling out. It doesn't matter who they are. Everybody's doing deals with corporations and doing big stuff like that. However, I will not do anything along those lines. I am the last angry man. No one's asked me yet, but when they do, I will stand strong. There will be no backdoor shenanigans for this small-time cheese shop comedian. No, I will remain and retain my integrity. Now, the thing that's interested me, though, is even the Dalai Lama now is selling out. I don't know if you've heard about this. The Dalai Lama has recently decided that this particular reincarnation that he is a part of is going to be his last reincarnation. And I think that's rather interesting, because what most people don't know about this is that he's in fact doing this final reincarnation business because he wants to spend more time focusing on his new upcoming sitcom, Stop the Wheel of Samsara, I Want to Get Off. Now, you see, that's funnier than you're giving it credit for. Let me explain to you why. You see, in Buddhist theology, the Wheel of Samsara is sort of like this it's not a real wheel, like there's not, the front and back wheels of Samsara. The Wheel of Samsara is essentially this idea that, we all sort of go around in circles through reincarnation, depending on how we go, and the only way to get out of that is to have is to sort of achieve reincarnation. So there was an old sitcom entitled Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. So you could see where those two ideas kind of come together in a humorous fashion. And I hope that this description has sort of cleared up the problem so that later on, when you think back to this experience, you won't think of not knowing why that joke was funny. You'll instead sort of blur these two memories together, the memory of me speaking now and the memory of me speaking then, and they'll come together into one coherent, much funnier memory where I said the joke and you knew what I meant. Now, there's actually a really convenient final sort of transition point from my first set of complaints about the soup to nuts and the the statements I'm making now, and that's that I was recently actually went to Chinatown with my grandmother, and we were going through the whole area, and she was showing me all the different stores, the various animals hanging from the ceiling, being bled out and cut, and all those sorts of things. And she took me, she said, Evan, I want to show you that store, you've been on me for all this time about the soup, and that she brought me in, and I'll tell you what, it was amazing. All along the one wall, they just had all soup, just all along the side, all along this end, and then it sort of came around to the center where they had this sort of nice third best Indian soup made with peanuts in the middle. And then as you got to the side, the nuts got progressively more solid until you reached the other side where it was just nuts. And I realized, just for the moment, that store really did have everything from soup to nuts. I'm very sorry. Please enjoy our next comedian, Ryland Stoller.
Evan Elliott, everybody, Sudbury's #1 cheese shop comedian. Give it up, hot mess, everyone here. Top of